This podcast episode today is brought to you by Prezi Business. If you're tired of the same old boring slide decks you get with PowerPoint, don't worry, I'm in the same boat as you are. And this is what I did. I went and got Prezi. And it's amazing because every time I give a presentation, people actually come up to me and besides the content, say, oh my goodness, what was that? It's different. It's amazing. And the reason why they like it because it's able to tell a story more than just a boring slide deck going back and forth. As a sales professional, this is something that you need to have in your arsenal. You need to be able to tell meaningful stories. I highly recommend that you check out Prezi. Get a demonstration today by going to prezi.com/TSE. That's PREZI.com/TSE. I promise you, it will be totally worth it. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Now, on this great episode, I have an awesome guest. His name is Mike Hardenbrook. And Mike is the co-founder of Growth Geeks, a marketplace vetted for freelance marketers or geeks. And he's also one of the key individuals behind Growth Hacker TV, which is an educational resource for startups to acquire monetizational information and to grow their user base. Mike has a lot of great insights and a lot of great strategies. And today we're going to talk about how he was able to help his organization grow their monthly recurring revenue to $120,000. And he used a lot of things that people would think are outdated and don't work. So I don't want to take up much more time. We're going to go ahead and dive straight into the content. So take us out, Mr. DJ. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hey, good to be here.
Man, I am excited to have you here, brother. I know you're going to give us some great insights because here's something that it's been on everyone's mind for the past, 15 years. Everyone says we got to go online. Cold calling is dead. But right now there's like a renaissance, man. I hear a lot of people telling me that don't give up on your phones and stop being stupid. Phone's not dead. And you're one of the individuals that you've seen a lot of success with your cold outreach to the point where you grew your revenue 120,000 per month, like monthly recurring revenue, correct?
That's right.
And you did that through outbound and cold email. It wasn't none of this. You sat down and wait for calls to come in, right? You actively pursued it, right?
That's right. That's our primary marketing channel.
Well, I am excited to chat with you about all of that today. But before we dive into the fun stuff, man, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, Mike?
Yeah. So currently I work with two startups right now, or companies. And we're the same team, but we have two main software products. One is Growth Geeks, which is a on-demand marketplace to find marketing services. The other one is Workify, which is basically our version of breaking apart the software that runs Growth Geeks and allows other small agencies to sell white-labeled services and have on-demand recurring revenue inside of their agency.
Awesome.
I have a couple other projects. We do Growth Hacker TV and some other things around educational and marketing. But those are the two things that I'm primarily focused on.
So do you get a chance to take a break?
Well, I guess if you're probably like me, you love sales and marketing. So if you're making sales, you're pretty jazzed all the time about it.
I know. Right? I tell my wife that sometimes. She's just like, how do you just do it? I'm like, man, I just love selling. If I can sell, I am good. I'm in a happy state.
Yeah. It's a good day if you make sales. That's for sure.
A to the man on that one, man. Well, let's talk about this. Why did you guys decide to go with this means of prospecting, cold outreach? When everyone is telling you, you probably should go for social selling. Let's get some insight into why you even went down this alley.
Totally. It actually is a little bit of an odd story, but it kind of came natural, which sounds contradictory to most ways that you choose marketing. But early days, I started a company with a dental network, and the way that I got them signed up to this network was just basically email outreach, reaching out to a bunch of dentists and getting them enrolled in our program. And then, we went on and did some marketing stuff. I coordinated educators in marketing, and that was really recruited them through email. And then we moved on to Growth Hacker TV, and the way that we booked all our guests and these high profile, I had to get good emails out to these people. It's hard to get in front of them, get them to respond. And so I got very comfortable with email. And then when we built this two-sided marketplace, it's hard to bring these two sides together at one time. And so we started recruiting the supply side, which would be the providers or the agencies on this marketplace to provide services for the startups. Well, we used email to recruit them. But what we found was, hey, it totally makes sense. We're already resonating with a lot of these people that are going to be the supply. Well, they started buying. And so we started doing outreach to startups, to other companies. And early days, that's a way to talk to your customers. So it was customer development at the same time making early sales, which is really important. And it's very scalable. If you can replenish those leads, talk to your customers, get them on the phone. It just ended up going from initial traction to a growth mechanism for us.
Gotcha. So it just kind of naturally came into that effect.
Yeah. So it was just like one of those things. We do email and it seems to work, and it's working for recruiting people to be supply side. Why can't we use it for sales? So we used it at small scale to start for sales, and it worked really well, surprisingly well. And we just doubled down on it.
What about people who say that this is not the most effective way of doing outreach, who might be listening, like saying, I don't know, man, I don't know about that cold outreach stuff. I'm gonna wait for just referrals to come in. What are some thoughts or some insights you would give towards that?
Yeah, I think most people, when it comes to naysayers, you're going to get it for any marketing channel. Oh, TV, that just doesn't work. Oh, Facebook ads, that doesn't work. Cold calling, that doesn't work. And for some businesses, that actually might be the truth. I think the majority of people that are naysayers is they went in and they gave it maybe a half-ass shot and didn't get good results. And so that it's easier to say that channel doesn't work for us than it is to actually get in there, get in the trenches, get your hands dirty, keep seeing if it's going to work for you until it's actually it's either not going to work for you or you get over that hump and start seeing some results from your efforts.
Yeah. So in a perfect climate or in a perfect situation in your office, what does that look like? How many hours are your SDRs? Are they just out on the phone, all day, or what's the typical schedule like for them?
Yeah, we have a little bit so the way I do cold email is a little different than, like, let's say somebody that would do it for a large corporation.
Yeah.
So I'm more focused on doing cold outreach for SMBs, startups, and people that aren't approaching such large organizations. However, a lot of our tactics do work for that. So the way that circling back to your question, tell me again what it was, because I just wanted to distinguish so that I know that I'm talking to the right person. People know what angle I'm coming from.
Yeah, definitely. It makes total sense. It was more on the line of, what's your process like as an SDR? Are they in the office all day, just like on a phone, the sales development reps, or yourself? Are you just, pounding the phone all day? Do you do a combination of social cold outreach, or do you do some stuff of, I want to know what's a typical day like?
Totally. And so that's why I got a little bit forgot where I was going with it. It's because startups smaller SMBs don't tend to have a bunch of SDR reps that go onto a phone. So actually, early days, direct linking was working for us. We were getting them on trials. It just really depends on your offer, but direct linking was working. Once we plugged in a salesperson to move from initial outreach to sales calls, that, obviously skyrocketed our revenue in comparison to direct linking. But it's important to note that, like, the way that you can do the cold emails. So let's say you don't have SDRs, you don't have sales reps that are manning the phones. This is still a channel that can work for you. You just have to approach it in a certain way. So for us, it's a real simple process of, really the way you break it down for us in our system is you've got 3 tiers that are important, and they all work together with the system, which would be sourcing your leads or your prospects, and whether or not those are the right ones that are going to convert for you. So if you don't get your leads right, then everything after the point isn't going to matter, right? So the next one would be, for us, is messaging. You have to have the right messaging, show the right benefits, either agitate the problem or provide the benefit that they're going to want to hear and see. So really, it's about us having a good lead source and just sending those messages out. And then the third tier is the technology, which is something that would either deliver it, allow you to track it, look over analytics, and test. So for us, it's a real simple process of find lead sources, which could either be sourced by ourselves and scraping, or it could be, data sources that we're purchasing lists, dropping them into our messaging that we already kind of have proven to work because we started small, and just once we knew that we had the right messaging, that's when you start dropping those leads into that bucket. And then we deliver it in 2 ways. One, we have a house delivery system that we built with our devs. The other one would be just using platforms like Tout. There's quite a few on the market now, and just pushing those leads into that platform, hitting send on it, and then either moving them to our website to opt into a trial or to lead to a phone sales call. So it's pretty simple. It's sending out emails and either pushing them to a phone call or to the website.
Gotcha. So it makes it pretty easy there. In that phone call, what are some of the things that you guys like? How's your approach on that? Do you guys give you used a script, or you just follow outline, or what are some of the things that worked well for you when you got to this 120K?
Yeah, we don't use a whole lot of scripts, to be honest, because like, let's say, for example, we're talking about the product Growth Geeks. Each business is going to need a different set of marketing. Yeah. So one person might be for social media. One person might be looking for Facebook ads. One person might say, hey, my Facebook ads, I've been running it, but I think it could be better. How is yours better? So they're going to have a bunch of, it's more answering objectionable questions than it is getting them on board, because in our case, most companies need marketing. So we don't need to get over the hump of convincing them they need marketing. We just need to convince them why our solution's better, cheaper, faster, or whatever it is.
Gotcha. So it just makes it a little bit more, it's more of a, I guess, probably the best way of describing it. It's an easier approach you guys have in a sense, where you're not trying to reconvince. It's more.
Yeah, I would say it's more closely aligned with a consult call rather than a sales call. Yeah. Which, on any sales call, you'd rather have that scenario, or at least feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends on your product. And that's why I actually do a lot of consulting with companies, and I can help with their sales process, but it's pretty plug and play when it comes to the way that you do the initial outreach, which is, like I said, the leads, the messaging, the tech. The pass off thereafter is a very complicated process. I only say complicated because every company is different in their sales method. So getting people on the phones is part of the scenario. The sales part is very customized to the product, the type of people they have on the phone, and a bunch of other scenarios. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Mike is going to give us more insights on what we can do to better help our outreach program. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist Podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Hey guys, as you know already, I am a big fan of Prezi, not just because the fact that it's easy, but also the fact that it helps to tell a meaningful story. Whenever I go into a presentation with a prospect, or if I'm at an event and I'm trying to captivate my audience, I love using the power of storytelling. And you can do this in some other PowerPoint slide decks or a keynote, but it's just so much more intuitive. The zoom control and the capabilities and the ability to just be different and to help expand your vision and your story with Prezi is just fabulous. And I love the tool. They're very easy to use, and I highly recommend you check it out. If you have not done so already, get the demo. You can go to prezi.com/TSE. Again, prezi.com/TSE. I absolutely promise you, all of your prospect will love you, and everyone who watches your presentation will come up to you and say, oh my goodness, that is different. And the story you tell will help build the value that you are trying to articulate to your buyers. Again, learn more, get the demonstration. It's a demonstration. Take advantage of it. Simply go to prezi.com/TSE. That's prezi.com/TSE. You are going to love it. Welcome back, and as we dive into the second half of this episode here, Mike is going to give us more of the insights and some more strategies, some of the things that he has done in his organization to help them reach $120,000 in monthly recurring revenue. That would be awesome, right? Let's go ahead and dive back into the episode. When you have, what else? I guess I'm just more curious. What else did you guys do to get to that high, such a high number? How long did it take you guys to make that happen, to get to 120?
Yeah, well, we hit the 100K mark at 18 months from product launch or behind the scenes in beta. So that's including like not even having a product, just getting out there and selling and doing pre-sales to where we were there. So it took about 18 months. It ramped up quick. Like I said, we did a few things with the product that increased the sales. So it wasn't just changing what we were doing with the outbound stuff. It was also, we concentrated the offer. So it was not as much analysis paralysis, which helped aid in sales. So I can't say it's just was totally finding something to work and stepping on the gas. It was a couple other factors going on. But yeah, it was more or less, it was 18 months and it was, okay, this is working. Where else can we find more leads? How else can we send more emails? And is the sales at a certain point where we said we have to add sales reps? Is that going to work for us? And when we did, it increased revenue by, I don't even remember the percentage, but it was significant.
Wow. That's great, man. Because, there's so many of the businesses that are out there. The challenges that they find is just the team, or, the sellers are afraid to do it. What would you say to some people who are just like, that may just have that fear of doing a cold outreach, whether it's through cold emails or through, picking up the phone?
Yeah, no, actually, that's a really good question. And that's usually wherein lies one of your early ones, which is people just say it doesn't work. Well, the stigma around it is, and in most outbound stuff, but the real stigma, especially in this case, is I'm just going to piss off a bunch of people, right? Like, I'm just going to be annoying, and they're going to be annoyed with me, and it's going to be an uphill battle, and I have to have thick skin. And if your messaging really sucks, that's probably going to be the case. And if your product isn't something that they want, that's probably going to be the case. But if your messaging is showing them what they need or want or could use to make their life or their business better, and you reach out with that nice messaging and the targeting's right and your product's right, they're going to thank you. And I see it all the time. They're going to thank you for reaching out, or this is perfect, or I'm going to go check it out now, or thank you for reaching out, or I was just thinking about this last month. I get those all day long. Like, people, if you do it right, people will thank you and love you for your email. So that's one thing to say to people thinking about doing it, is that this is one of those marketing things that, if done wrong, it's just like, think about an annoying commercial, those commercials suck, or think about a really annoying Facebook ad, they suck.
You're like, delete. How can I get delete off? Report as spam.
Like, people will hate you for that if you put something really stupid in front of them and do it wrong. But if you do it right, then people will respond. So
what is the message that, like, how do you? What's that message like? That first initial email? Because you first reached out to me via cold email. It wasn't. I responded. It wasn't like somebody that was thought it was like a spam or anything. It was somebody who was reaching out. But how do you do that on scale? How do you? Well, let me stop getting ahead of myself. Tell me, what should an email look like or sound like?
Sure. So the email, and my rules around email is I try not to exceed 5 sentences. So that 5-sentence rule kind of thing. I think that works really well in sales. I don't write anything that I wouldn't send a friend. Mm-hmm. So if I bolded something, caps or something like that, that would just be weird if you and I were emailing each other and I was doing that.
Yeah.
So that's also a rule. I try to keep it very casual. So maybe that's just because the industry I'm in, but honestly, we're talking about a person-to-person connection.
Yes.
So if you're writing it like it's a marketing piece or it's a newsletter or something, that's a completely different type of sales copy. This type of sales copy is very personal. It's very much the way that you and I would talk to each other. And if it's not something I would say out loud, that's also something that I get rid of. I tend to always open up very casually. Sometimes I'll address the fact that we don't know each other. That diffuses some of it, or that it's random. I get right into the benefit of what I could offer them. And I'm very clear on the call to action at the end. And I don't ask for them to think. The only answer should be yes or no. It's a yes or no question. Because if you ask them, some other question where they have to go and think about it, your response rate's going to be way lower, or it's going to go in a direction that you don't want.
That makes sense. I went back through literally and looked at the one that you sent to me initially, and it was simply, I got down to a yes or no question. And let's do I break it down even further. Personalizing. How do you personalize at scale? Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that actually is quite hard. If you're it really depends on the type of business. So like, I just had a client last week that I consulted, and each client to him is worth $100,000. So for him to put an extra 15 minutes to go read a blog post or something that they're doing and include that's time well spent. If, like, let's say in my case, I'm selling products that are under $500, and then we have, net, that's not all our net take home. It wouldn't make much sense for me at scale, since I'm going a volume play, to do that. But there are ways that we've done in the past to more personalize it. So let's say we're sending batches to a specific city. So we'll group it by city. We'll say, I hope, you're having a wonderful day in Chicago. And one thing we did was we actually pulled in a weather API from the Weather Channel for that city. And so we'd say, if it said it was going to rain, we'd say, hey, I hope you're having a great day in Chicago. We just checked out the weather, grab your umbrella because it's going to rain, or something, random. So that was one example of ways that we added a little personality to the email that was unique to them, that we could send, 5,000 in a day and it would still work. Now, that's not high level personalization, but it's some personalization, and it tend to get higher open and response rates, especially.
Yeah.
You really got to get creative, but honestly, if it seems like an email that's short enough, casual enough, not swami, salesy, that somebody actually could have sat there and typed it out, that is plausible, then you're going to get more of a feel of a non-templated sort of thing, even if it is a template.
Yeah, it just makes it feel a little bit more. I don't know. You just want, as a person who's on the other end, you want to make sure you feel like you're not just being hoodwinked, right? You're not being tricked into something. So if that message can be a little bit better, and I think it goes back to what you're saying there. It's harder to scale when it's more important to scale, especially when your price point. If I sell on something for $5, then maybe you should find something else to sell. But if you're selling something for $100 compared to something for a couple $1,000, or even $5,000, you may just want to spend more time on that $5,000 product and just look for something to get that prospect attention even more, right?
Yeah. And you can, what's funny is that you can take a step back. So let's say you have a $5 product, that's fine. You could still use cold AML. You just wouldn't be using it direct. So let's say, for the example, I reached out to you to see if there was an opportunity for us to be a joint venture partner on a webinar. So I'm looking at your distribution, but still using cold email. So I'm using cold email for sales, but not direct sales to you. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to say, hey, let's do a partnership to make sales together at a volume place. So let's say I even had a low selling sales dollar product. I could still use cold email, but I would use it with distribution partners. So there's a lot of different angles that you can take for not just direct sales with cold email.
Yeah, it makes total sense on that, man. And you've given us a lot of great insights today, a lot of great advice that we can take and all apply. If there's one major piece of advice you'd like folks to leave this conversation with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I'd say the one major piece of advice, if you're considering doing this, is literally go out, set aside let's say an hour for 2 weeks. Take 1 hour and say, all right, in that hour, I'm going to get some leads. In that hour, I'm going to write an email straight out of my Gmail or whatever mail, program you're using. You're going to one-off send them, and you're going to see how that response goes, and just keep doing it. So day one, you're not going to get a response. Day two, you don't even know how many leads you're going to collect in day one, but just keep doing it. You're going to get more efficient. And over 2 weeks time, you're going to have some cumulative result or nothing at all from your efforts. It only took you 2 weeks. You gave it a try. You didn't get hung up on, all right, I got to buy all this data and I got to hire a copywriter, or I'm going to spend, a whole 2 weeks writing my email sequence so it's perfect. And then I got to go find a tech solution to do all the delivery. No. All that stuff. Yeah. Once you identify what's working for you, but just start at the basics. Don't get hung up on trying to make it complicated before it has to. We're just talking about email and reaching out to people. So if I had to give one piece of advice, is just keep it simple, give it a try, stay consistent. And then if you identify some opportunities, really start thinking about how you can dive in as a channel for your sales and growth.
Makes sense. Love that. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to ask you, because I'm sure some folks out there are listening. They're like, man, this dude sounds like he's interested in Donald. I want to get connected. What's the best way for them to connect with you, Mike?
Sure. They can email me at mike@growthhacker.tv.
Mike at growthhack. And that's your YouTube channel, right? You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's not a YouTube. It's a membership site. We launched it about 5 years ago. It was the first dedicated site to growth hacking. And we interview all the top growth hackers in tech and other industries on that site. It's not our main focus, but it's still going and it still has a kind of a raving fan base behind it. So
that's pretty awesome.
Obviously it's easy you guys can email me because I'm an email guy. Yep.
Well, dude, man, we so appreciate you taking some time to come out here and share some insight with us. We're going to put those links into our show notes, and so folks can get access to it. If you're driving right now, don't worry. We'll have everything there for you. But Mike, man, you brought some good stuff.
I'll mention real quick, if anyone's interested, they can email me, of course, questions or whatever. I teach this stuff online. I wouldn't feel guilty about talking about anything around sales here since it's a sales podcast. So I do have a course that's available for anybody if they're interested. I keep it very low priced, and I go into all the tricks and everything that I do around cold email and the strategies. And that's at coldemailacademy.com.
Done. Love it, man. We're going to put that stuff right there. So guys, get it. If you get a chance, go ahead and no. If you don't get a chance, you make a chance. Make it happen. Go out and check the stuff out and check out the links here. I promise you it'll be totally worth your time, man. But Michael, thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks, Donald.
I told you Mike knows what he's talking about. And the fact that they did it so well. I just highly recommend that you don't pass on the idea of cold calling or outreach or cold email outreach. So often we think that we're going to offend people. But you know what? We have to share the truth we know. If you had an amazing tool, and I've said this before in another episode, if you had a cure for cancer, you're going to cold call people. You're not going to say, well, I'm just going to wait for somebody to call me. Well, if you have that strong of a conviction, if you have something that can really help a business or help an individual, don't you think it's your moral obligation to tell them? Sometimes people are not going to be ready for it. But you know what? You did your part, and that's the most important element of this whole thing. So I highly recommend you get connected with Mike. You can go to their website. I have all the information in our show notes. It's at thesalesevangelist.com/episode number 688. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/episode number 688. I share this information. I bring folks like Mike on because I really want to help you. I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy. But most importantly, I want you to go out each and every day and do big things.